go back just a little bit. Talk to me about how you've been dealing with that. I mean, obviously, kind of I thought an unfair result, but obviously your first loss and having to deal with that. What's it been like, coming off of that and trying to put that behind you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not just you that thought it was an unfair result. I think everybody, literally every man I've spoken to about that event thought I won, including myself and two other UFC judges that were there watching Octagon side, but actually weren't judging, unfortunately. Andy Haig, who scored the fight 30-27, I believe has now been shelved by the UFC, which is nice, but they could have done it before my fight. It was actually the first time I think he's judged for the UFC, and now he's been shelved. So I was just a bit unfortunate with that, which it's a bit of a shame. But it happens, and it's my fault. At the end of the day, if that's the way I look at it, I should have beat the guy decisively, how I wanted to beat the guy. I fought my game plan. We knew it was going to be a boring fight if he decided to fight that way, but we were like, it's going to be boring. But just get the win, you'll be 4-0 in the UFC, and you can move on forward to a more exciting fight. If he comes at you, which is what we wanted to happen, then I felt like I had him beat everywhere, and I thought that's how the fight was going to go. So in between each round, my coach was coming in, Robbie, and saying, they're booing, it's boring, but you're winning, keep doing what you're doing, don't risk anything, don't go too crazy. And it's not how I fight. I like to go all out, and I like to fight. But we come up with this game plan to be a bit more polished, a bit more accomplished. But then I have to stick to a game plan in the later fights. When I'm fighting high-level guys, I can do it. So it's it's strange, but within the fight I was like practicing for the future, and it paid off, but didn't. We won, but we didn't. So a lot of lessons learned basically for me in that bout, and I think dealing with it wise, it's hit me pretty hard. As in, I dealt with the fight fine, I lost, whatever. It sucks to lose that way. But it made me reevaluate. I've been fighting now 6 years or 5.5 years. But before I was in the UFC, I fought every 6 weeks, every 3 weeks, as much as I could fight possibly. Probably for about 4.5 years. Then I made it onto the Ultimate Fighter. I had 3 fights in 3 weeks or whatever it was. And then you had the pressure of having to keep in the show a secret, and then fighting on the finale, training in secret, and all this sort of stuff going on. And then I fought UFC 4 times in 13 months. So I've been very busy for the last 5-6 years. I wanted to work out where I'm going from here and reevaluate. So I took a 4 month off. I had a 4 months holiday, and I headed up to San Diego to the Irons gym, and I'm setting up a partnership with them to take my career forward. So I'm going to be training. I'm looking at a training camp now to start in August, and I'll be out there for 3 to 4 months to get away from my surroundings and have a fresh start, and hopefully not go to a decision ever again.
Yeah, I saw, and I apologize because I was traveling, so I didn't get a chance to really see it, but I saw that you kind of mentioned Wanderlei Silva as somebody that you'd like to match up with. Talk about, why that's something that interests you.
Well, obviously, Wanderlei's name's been flying around a little bit at the moment. He's testing himself for substances, which is a bit strange. But the main reason, there's a lot of reasons, but the main reason is obviously Chael. Me and Chael are very, very close. He's going through a very, very tough time at the moment. People are saying I should distance myself from Chael at the moment. That's ridiculous. Me and him are good friends. He's done a lot for me, done a lot for the sport. And I still believe in the guy, and he can't fight Wanderlei, so I'm probably the best guy to replace him. I feel like I'm a terrible matchup for the guy. I feel like I beat him everywhere. He's old. He's got no new tricks. You know what he's going to do. He's going to run at you like this. Which is very entertaining, but doesn't work on a young guy who's 6'6" and can move and hit you in the face. So I feel like I beat him everywhere, and it's a great fight. I think it brings excitement, gets me a good knockout on my record, it gets me a good name, and it really pushes me up and makes people take note. So I'm playing the game, definitely. I want that fight, and it's going to be a tough fight to get. But if I can get that fight and I can bring it to Europe, or I can do it on a big stage, then it'd be great for my career. And Wanderlei's finished, so they might as well use what he has, the juice he has, to start selling off his career.
Yeah, you mentioned the stuff with Chael. Has it been tough for you? I mean, I see what you're saying. I think it's nice that you're still supporting him and believing him, but has it been a little difficult for you to go through it and to see what he's going through?
It's been difficult for me, definitely. I mean, I speak to the guy on it about it quite regularly, and it's tough. It's tough. It's a tough situation for Chael, and he's got a lot going on. I think the worst thing that happened really is, you look at real life. He lost his job on Fox, and that's a big blow. And he's trying to start a new family, and he just got married, and the life things, not the sport and all the rest of it. If he never fights in the UFC again, he never fights in the UFC again. That doesn't matter. But how they've tarnished his name, and I just think, to me it doesn't matter, and I just wanted him to do well and come back. And I think in 6 months, 12 months, he'll be around again, and he's just got to take a bit of time off and reevaluate. But I don't know what everyone's opinion of it is. I haven't heard many opinions because I've stayed away from it and just spoke to Chael. But the situation, it sucks basically.
What do you think about the actual EPO positive test? Especially because Ali Bagautinov obviously tested positive as well a few weeks later.
Well, the way I understand it, tell me if I'm wrong, because this is the way I understand it. He was tested and he got caught for taking an estrogen suppressant, right? This is the first test.
Yeah.
So taking for an estrogen suppressant, which he had to take, physically has to take. He took TRT, which was legal. They made TRT illegal, so he had to stop taking it. And for him to have a balanced life, he had to take these other substances. Then when he got caught, he retired, and then he took EPO. So he was retired when he took EPO, and then he got caught again. So this is how I understand it in my head.
I think the second test took place before he announced his retirement, and the results of that test came out after he had already retired.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Yeah. So the EPO thing is I think that's the whole cycling thing, right? That's the thing that people with cyclists get forward.
I think the issue is a lot of people can sort of understand coming off TRT and the things you've got to take, but EPO specifically, because it doesn't have any direct correlation with TRT, people see that as kind of generally just out and out cheating. And with the fact that Bagautinov obviously tested positive a few weeks later, that's 2 random drug tests, in the space of a few weeks, and it's obviously a big issue at the moment.
Yeah, EPO is obviously a big issue. I don't know enough about the subject to talk about it. I don't know anything about EPO except, like I said, I think cyclists use it. I don't know. It might be a new thing. Chael's trying to keep his health together. I really don't know the situation, and I've spoken to him about his life situation, not the drugs and all the rest of it, because I'm not involved in any of that. So, like I said, it's tough for him, and for me, it is cheating, and I don't want anyone to compete on PEDs at all. I don't agree with it. But it depends on the circumstance for him. He shouldn't be competing with it, but I don't think he planned to compete, so I really don't know.
Going back to Wanderlei, he's obviously someone that's been in the headlines for various reasons regarding drug testing as well. Would you be comfortable fighting him in a place like Brazil, for example? Or whenever, however, it doesn't matter. I know for me it's a fight that's a little bit out of my reach in a way, so the circumstances are up to them. If they want me to fight him in his back garden, I'll fight him in his back garden. It doesn't matter because the result will be the same. So I might be spat on by some Brazilians if that's what it takes to fight him. If they're gonna hate me, they're gonna hate me. But at the end of the day, I want the fight, and I'll travel the world to get it. It looks like he wants it too. If you saw Instagram this morning,
yeah.
He had a picture of the two of you together in a split screen, and he looks like he wants to fight. So.
Well, bring it on. Let's get it done. I think his Instagram said, "Who is this guy?" And I'm the guy planning his retirement party. So it's going to be a great fight if they allow it to happen. It's up to the UFC. It's up to Joe Silva. It's not to Wanderlei Silva. It's not up to me. It's up to Joe. And if Joe sees what can happen from it, and he can, a new star can be born in the UFC, and he can help elevate me and finish Wanderlei Silva, who no one really cares about anymore. Let's be honest. He's entertainment. That's all he is now. And in the sport, he's going nowhere. So they might as well use him to build me up.
Well, obviously you're here for UFC Fight at Dublin. You fought here before, right?
I've never fought in Dublin. I've been to Dublin a lot, but I've never actually fought here.
I think you supported fighters who have fought here, right? What do you make of Conor McGregor and the explosion of MMA in the last couple of years there?
In Ireland, it's crazy. We've been walking around here the last couple of days, and we were talking to some people at the bar. What do you guys do? We fight in the UFC. What's the UFC? Oh, it's mixed martial arts, blah, 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 blah. Oh, you know Conor. Oh, we know Conor McGregor. Yeah, we know Conor McGregor. But you don't know what mixed martial arts is, but you know this guy. So he's obviously become a big star out here, and he's doing very, very well for himself with it. The way he's doing it is interesting, because...
What do you mean?
Well, he's talking about fighting guys that he has no right to be fighting, and he has no... talk about me and Wanderlei. We'll take that as an example. Me fighting Wanderlei's not in line to fight for a title. Wanderlei's not up there. He's not a top 10 guy. He's not, and neither am I. So the fight makes sense on a scale that way. If you start talking about fighting people like Chad Mendes and like Cub Swanson, for instance, these guys are in line to fight for titles. You've had 2 fights in the UFC. I've had twice as many fights as Conor in the UFC. I'm not calling out top 5 guys because you can't do it that way. Yes, the media's great, and yes, he's very good personality, and yes, he's an okay fighter. He's doing well. I've seen the guy fight for the last 4 years. I've been traveled to Dublin to support guys to fight, and he's been on the cards. So I've watched the guy fight for a very, very long time. And his style's changed. His style's changed in the media, his personality's changed, he's changed in the octagon, everything's changed. He's recreated himself and he's done a very, very good job. But that doesn't give you the right to fight, top 10 guys. He's ranked in the top 15, he doesn't even deserve to be there. He's not beating anyone in the top 15. So it's obviously a very sore point amongst a lot of guys in the UFC because, he's tricking people into believing that he's this top guy. And he does a good job of it, but he's not. And we'll find out on Saturday if he can back it up, and that's what makes it interesting. That's why this event has got so much traction around it. People are so interested in it because they want to know if he can back it up. That's all they're interested in, and we'll find out. Like I said, I've seen him fight a lot. I know for a long time before the Conor McGregor show, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Break down the main event then, Brandao McGregor. Who break it down who wins?
It's pretty much tailor-made, I think, for Conor if he wants it to be. Depends how the fight goes, but if he wants it to be, I think he can stick and move, and he can tire out Brandao and then take him out in the later rounds and look pretty fantastic doing it. If he has an ego and he wants to try and prove that he can take him out in the first round and come out aggressively, Diego Brandao is a dangerous man, very, very dangerous. So. It all depends on the pressure, because he's created this pressure cooker for himself in Dublin, his hometown, in front of all these fans. He's told everybody that he's going to put on a show. He's told everyone that he deserves to be a title contender, and he needs to prove it. So if he comes out guns blazing against Diego Brandao, it's going to be a tough night for Conor. If he comes out clever, and he can breeze it and make it look very, very special. So it really depends on the tactics and how Diego reacts to. I said about being spat on by Brazilians, but he might get spat on by a few Irish people. I don't know. It's a hostile crowd, the Irish, which is great. And I love the fact that the Irish fans root for the Irish guy. I think it's great. They support their countrymen, and it's fantastic. They got four Irish guys fighting on the card. So all those 4 guys are going to get supported. It's the same when I fight in London. The English guys cheer for me, and that's what you want. You don't want the Irish guy cheering for the Brazilian guy. It doesn't make any sense. So that'll make it interesting.
Talking of that, what's the fan reaction over here been to you, being that you've said some things about Conor in the media and he said some things about you?
Yeah, so far, great. I actually did a seminar last night at SBG, Conor's gym, and I was there when he didn't make weight in San Antonio. I flew out there to support him, and I was literally there while he was laying on the ground and didn't make weight, talking to him about it. He doesn't understand the repercussions of not making weight. To him, it was just like, I'm not going to get paid the 20% or whatever the UFC take off of me. And now he realizes a little bit more that he can make the weight. There's no problems about it. He just, he needs to sort a few things out. He hasn't got a very structured life at the moment. He's moving around camps. He hasn't found a home. He lives in Yuma, trains there, but then goes away for a camp. And the UFC called him to go to Vegas for a week for a PR thing. And he goes, oh yeah, no problem. And when really he should be at home training. And he needs to find like a good management. He manages himself at the moment. So he needs to find a good guy who can look after him and really look after him, because he's a young guy in the sport, and he's a young guy, so that's why he didn't make weight. He didn't make weight because he's unorganised, and and he's got the wrong coaches around him. Got great guys, great coaches, but he's in the top 10 now, and he's going to be competing against some really, really tough guys. So you have to be on point. Things like making weight shouldn't be an issue, and they won't be from now on. I think him and Mike have been talking, and there was a bit of back and forth. They had a bit of problems. I think it was on the MMA Hour. They went back. Mike was like talking about Kelvin, and Kelvin said Mike was too expensive, and Mike is pretty expensive. The guy costs a lot of money to work with, but he's worth it, and that's what was proved with the whole Kelvin situation. And I think it'll all be resolved, and we'll see. You'll see in the next fight. I think Kelvin's looking to fight in November, and in November you'll see the result of a structured Kelvin working with Mike and looking to go forward. And if he wins his next fight, he really is looking to go for a title run, because he's 4-0 in UFC already, and he can really, really move forward.
So if you hire Mike Dolce for a fight camp, what do you expect to get from that? Does he make sure you get in every meal you have off him? It's
different every single time. Every athlete he works with is different. If he's going to work with someone who's dropping a new weight class, it's going to be different. If he's going to work with someone who I'm a very organised guy. I'm very good with my diet. I work with Mike as well, but we work on a much more relaxed basis because he doesn't have to worry about it. He knows what I'm going to do. I just ask him for advice. He's always at the end of the phone if I need him. He comes out for my fight camps, like to help me make weight. Sometimes he's done it a couple of times for me. Sometimes I haven't used him because he's too busy or whatever. It depends on the situation and the athlete. And Mike's the guy you want to speak to about that, not me, because it's up to him to decide. But with Kelvin, it'll be, they have like weekly weigh-ins, like he does a video weigh-in to Mike, they talk on the phone a lot, he does his diet for him, they do strength and conditioning together, he comes out for a week, goes, so it'll be very, very involved. So each fighter is very, very different. I think here, for BJ Penn, who looked great at 145, was it 145? He fought looked great at 145, he lived with BJ for a month. So that was different. Again, every athlete is different, and that's the whole point of the Dolce diet, is you specify, can't even say that word, it becomes specific for each athlete.
I want to get your thoughts real quick on next week's big main event next week, Matt Brown and Robbie Lawler. A lot of people looking forward to that one, obviously, for obvious reasons there. What's your take on how that fight's going to play out?
I'm a huge Robbie Lawler fan. Have been for a very, very long time. I think when he knocked out Melvin Manhoff was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. And Matt Brown is on an absolute tear. So that's why people are excited about the fight. I really struggle to give you an answer on how I think it's going to go, because Matt's just, you can't count him out. I think Robbie's probably the favourite. I'm not sure, but if Matt Brown turns up, he turns up. So it's a tough one for. I hope it's a back and forth striking battle, which I think is what we all think it's going to be. But Matt Brown's relentless, and I think Robbie's got something to prove almost after his last performance against Johnny. He, I felt like he could have snatched that fight and took the title if he really wanted to. And I think he knows that in his head, and I think he's trying to prove that in this next fight. So a lot of dynamics, great fight, and I can't wait to watch it.
Cool.
Okay, guys.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks, Luke.
Thanks.